What do we got here? What do you have? A 44 millimeter watch, and a man who stands at 6 feet, weighs close to 240, between 235 and 240. Is a 44 millimeter watch big enough for a man of those dimensions? I think it is. You've got a Citizen Grand Touring on your wrist. It has domed sapphire crystal. It has a smoked charcoal gray sunburst dial, and looks pretty good. A guy with this exact watch who owns a lot of Swiss luxury watches, including Omega, he contacted me and he said this is just as good. I mean, I'm not saying that, but an owner of Omega said this is right there. It's right there. These are under $700. So I don't know. Some of you guys are going, don't say that. That's sacrilege against Omega. I don't know. The Citizen Grand Touring. What do I want to talk about today? I don't think I've checked in for a while on this YouTube channel. Here's what I want to talk about in the realm of watch obsessives and watch addicts. Are you happy with your watch collecting? What kind of watches do they have at Costco? Every time I go to Torrance Costco, which is the busiest Costco in the mainland of the United States of America, I see a lot of watches at Costco. I mean, we're talking Swiss luxury between $3,000 and $5,000, $3,000 and $6,000. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about watch addiction and the metaphor of the wolf and my role in watch addiction. Not just my own, but people who look at YouTube channels about watches. I want to talk about the YouTube personas we create when we talk about watches. And I want to talk about when your addiction becomes ridiculous. First of all, how's my watch collecting going? It's pretty good. I have 7 watches in my collection. I don't do well over 7. Once I go over 7, everything just feels like this big mishmash, mess, chaos. I don't think my brain can handle more than 7 watches. I always want to get more because I am a watch addict, but I know from experience that when I get another watch over 7, once I hit 8, 9, 10, 11, the watches that I used to enjoy, everything just becomes one big pot of oatmeal. It's weird. It's something I've had to deal with. It's a first world problem. But honestly, right now I could probably just rotate 3 watches. I could rotate the Citizen Grand Touring. In terms of quality, it's my highest quality watch, the build quality and everything. And then honestly, I could just wear my tunas. I have the large Lume Dot 017 with the sandblasted case on an end mill, and the very similar 033. Apparently it has improved lume. The lume dots are smaller. I guess they're thicker, and the case is polished on this one. And the longer I have these 2 Seiko tunas, the more they have a different vibe. They have a different vibe, and I can't sell them. I can't get rid of them. And honestly, I'm busy with these 3 watches. I mean, I have 4 other watches, but just in my head, I just see myself rotating these 3. It feels better for some reason. It feels a lot more manageable when I think of it in those terms. So I've got my lead-off hitters or my cleanup hitters, and then I've got my auxiliary players. The utility boys who can play shortstop and so on. Now, why are you using a baseball metaphor? You haven't even been a baseball fan since the 1970s. What the heck is going on? So that's interesting that I'm pretty content with these 3 watches. I suppose if I was discontent with them, I could sell everything and buy a Breitling Super Avenger for about $4,500. I could buy a Panerai used for about $5,000. And as much as I like those watches, I don't like them enough to do that. It's just my choice. I'm happy with these. Are you happy with your collection? It's interesting as a watch hobbyist, if you keep buying watches, implicitly you're kind of saying you're not happy with your collection. And I think sometimes when you keep buying and buying and buying, you sometimes reach a point where, number one, you become numb to the whole process. It's just a habit that you have. Number two, a lot of times it becomes an escape because it's something that you feel, it's a small ecosystem, to use a term from Johnny, and it becomes an escape from things in your life that you can't manage. And that's no good. And I think you reach a point where you feel like a hamster on a hamster wheel, and you're going over and over and over again. And so there's an implicit unhappiness to always buying. That doesn't mean that I don't think there's anything wrong with buying a watch once in a while. I think even the most content watch obsessive is going to get bored with what he has eventually. And I think, there's always new stuff coming out, the drug pushers of Seiko and Citizen and Omega and whatnot. They always come up with new tasty stuff. I'm going to tell you, the most beautiful watch I ever had that I didn't keep was the Seiko SUN, I think it was 019 Kinetic, and that watch, I did a couple videos with it, and for whatever reason, those videos get my most hits, like close to 20,000 hits. It's an interesting watch. I mean, there's certain things about it that I don't like. I'm not totally in love with the bracelet. I don't even have it to show it to you. I'm not totally in love with the bracelet, though it's not a deal killer by any means. And Johnny called it a mishmash. I don't know. I love that watch because of the three-dimensional dial and the way those lume markers are so three-dimensional. And I love the lume on it, and I love the look. It kind of reminds me of some of those $5,000 Seikos I cannot afford, those high beat dial. I think the SBEX 003, which is 48 millimeters, and the Seiko SUN 019 is 48. Can't own the Seiko SUN 019. It's kinetic, and that just doesn't work for me. The anxieties of having a kinetic watch far outweigh the pleasures of owning that watch, and I suffer the Seiko Sumo in its place. Real suffering, McMahon. And what I could do if I wanted the Seiko SUN 019 badly enough, I could spend $300 on a Seiko kinetic charger. So suddenly this $350 Seiko kinetic watch is now $650, which, if you look at it that way and you're at peace with doing that, I guess you could do that. I mean, even if you use that Seiko kinetic charger, you're probably going to get 5 years out of that battery. Then that's another $65 to replace the kinetic lithium battery. It's something to think about. I guess that's more economical than spending $5,000 on the SBEX 003. But that's probably the most attractive watch I don't own that I used to own. I've owned that watch 3 times. But the anxieties of owning a watch that's kinetic it doesn't help me at all. As one viewer called it, it's a anxiety magnet. A different viewer emailed me a couple weeks ago, said, I had it, I sold it, I want it back. I gotta have it back. And I feel his pain, man. That's a cool looking Seiko for 40. Man, if Seiko would put the Sumo automatic movement in that, wow, I'd probably buy that. They'd probably want $1,200 for it at that point, knowing them. I think their Transocean is over 1,000, and it has the Sumo movement in it. I like the new Seiko Transocean. I don't love it, and so I'm not in the market for that. But I don't know. I wonder if Seiko would put a 5-year quartz in that Seiko SUN 019. Would I be a buyer then? Maybe. So are you happy with your collection, or do you feel like you just become a hamster on the hamster wheel going round and round and round? I can get into that trap quite a bit. Kind of been trying to slow down with my watch obsessive ways. One of my favorite, I have an addictive personality, and I think most of you already know that. You probably don't need me to tell you that. One of my favorite metaphors for the addictive personality and dealing with addiction is the metaphor of the wolf. We all have this wolf, and if we feed the wolf, it gets bigger and stronger, and it gets hungrier. And in the age of the internet, it's so with watch eye candy everywhere and videos, it's so easy to feed the wolf. And, I do a lot of wolf feeding of my own. I feed my own wolf, and it gets bigger and stronger and hungrier. And then I've been guilty in some ways of feeding the wolves out there in the YouTube community. Some of you have contacted me and said, "Love your channel, love your Seiko tuna, love this, love that. I bought this watch, that watch because of you." And part of me feels flattered. Wow, man, a cultural tastemaker. Whoa. And then part of me feels like a moron. What am I, a drug pusher? What am I, an addiction enabler? What am I, like a person who glorifies consumerism? Am I the priest of consumerism? A minion of consumerism? Oh, man, that depresses me, man. I have ambivalent feelings about that. I mean, I want to share my watch passions on one hand, but I don't want to be an enabler on the other. So, Lord knows what's going on with having a YouTube channel. I don't want to get too lost in the persona. I don't see myself as a curator or as some sort of special persona with watches. I think what attracts me to having a YouTube channel is ultimately I want to be stripped of all pretentiousness. I just want to be a dude, just a regular guy. I mean, one of the most flattering things someone said on this YouTube channel is I was unboxing a Seiko tuna, the black one, the 035, which I sold. I liked it, didn't love it. And he goes, "That's the best unboxing I've ever seen in my life. You're using a Swiss Army knife and you're ripping the box open like it's it's an animal, you're a carcass, and you're just like a normal dude. You're not trying to be all pizzazz and razzle dazzle. You're just like some Mitch opening up the watch." That's probably the most flattering thing someone said to me, because I don't want to. And you're not wearing white gloves and everything. And so I was flattered by that. I was just a normal dude. And God knows I want to be normal. Speaking of normal. My watch addictive ways can be ridiculous, and there are things that I observe in myself that tell me, "Dude, get back, stand back. You are ridiculous, man." I'm notorious for buying watches, convincing myself that I have to sell them, and then rebuying them. I mean, I've rebought the Seiko Sumo 5 times. I've rebought the Citizen Grand Touring 4 times. Those are my most infamous rebuys. I rebought the Seiko Suno 19 3 times. I rebought the Seiko Tuna 017 once. Rebought the Seiko SBDL. It used to be 021, now it's 027. It's a Solar Fieldmaster. I bought that 3 times. I don't currently own it. Kind of miss it, but I don't know. But I'm happy enough with these 3 watches. But I think there's a certain degree of mythology when you sell a watch and rebuy it. It's kind of like reuniting with your lost love. And when you're looking at watches that you used to own, and you hear a David Gates Bread song called "Lost Without Your Love," and you hear the lyrics. All I want is just the way it used to be with you here close to me. When you hear that, you've gone down the deep end, buddy boy. You should not be hearing David Gates lyrics at all, really, and particularly in relationship to watches. Once that happens, dude, your sickness has gotten the best of you. Let's all stand back and laugh at our illness, but that's going too much. Any other signs of illness with a watch addiction? Yes. Easter, I spent Easter at my sister-in-law's. Nice people, nice family people there, nice guests, a lot of people there. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm around a lot of people, after about an hour, I just can't take it anymore. I can't process it. It's too much. I eat the food. I pretty much just want to go nap somewhere. Just, can you send me up to the guest room and I'll collapse onto the bed and I'll go into a food coma because I'm done. And so I was having a hard time just dealing with a crowd, and I got a piece of scratch paper, and I was writing lists, watch lists, a hierarchy, number one. I was writing my watch rotation schedule, and as I was doing it, I knew it was moronic. I knew it was lame. I knew it was antisocial. I knew I was detaching myself from the other people, and I kept doing it anyway. And that's the nature of my obsessive compulsive addictive behavior. And I knew it was time to stand back from the watches. What I'm trying to tell you is I'm not really lusting after any watches right now. Between the Citizen Grand Touring, the Seiko Tuna 033, and the Seiko Tuna 017, I'm busy, man. I'm busy. It's about all I can do. I wanted to tell you one more thing before I sign out of here. Maybe two more things. Will you accept two more things? I've been at Costco. I've been going to Costco more lately. I was trying to resist it, but I've given in to Mordor. I love it. I'm embracing Costco now. I'm going there more often. I just love it too much. It's like the greatest thing that's ever come from the United States of America is Costco. Better than jazz. I don't know about that. But so I've been going there a lot more often lately, and I even did a video about it a month ago or something like that. And it astonishes me that, of course I go to the watch box, the locked watch box. And it astonishes me that they've got Panerai and they've got Breitling. And it's really weird looking at Breitling and Panerai in Costco. There's a certain cognitive dissonance. And I can't process those watches in Costco. Somehow I don't feel like it's real. I feel like I'm in a dream. And I can't even comprehend the watches. Honestly, they seem a little underwhelming to me in that environment. And though, to be fair, none of my dream Panerais are in there. None of my dream Breitlings are in there. I mean, there's no Super Avenger 2, the Arabic numerals, in there. There's no Panerai 47 millimeter watches. They're 44s. And they look a little underwhelming. Though the last time I was at Costco, I did look at this Breitling. Was it a Chronomat or something? And I looked at it very closely, and I was warming up to it a little bit. But what I want to say is, if I were allowed to take those Panerais and those Breitlings home with me and wear them for a month or two, I'm confident that I would fall in love with them. I think the quality of those watches is such that you would really have to wear them and connect with them at home. I don't think you could just look at them inside a box at Costco. It's such a weird experience. I want to go back and look at them again. I want to penetrate the mystery of why I'm so underwhelmed by those Holy Grail watches. I want to know what the hell is going on with that. But, I don't want to feed the wolf too much either. So what am I doing in place of the watch addiction? Well, I'm reading my favorite book of all time, and I'm going to teach it again. I've been teaching this book off and on for the last 12 years, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And love the book. It's a book about how life is inevitably about suffering, and the suffering, if we try to push it away, we behave in ways that we can become oppressed by our own lack of meaning, and that meaning is found actually by embracing our suffering. And he says we're accountable to other people, and in the way that we embrace our suffering, we should embrace our suffering that would make us proud to our family and friends. And as I read the book, and it's really about changing your attitude towards suffering from a petulant, surly little whiner, into a courageous person who can find meaning in suffering. As I read the book, I'm reminded of something I think I've heard before, that probably the most difficult thing in life is to change our attitude. And once our attitude calcifies and cements and becomes a certain way, it's extremely difficult. And our attitude is who we are fundamentally. And the book is trying to change us fundamentally by addressing suffering, by embracing suffering. And in that regard, it's the most anti self-help book ever written. It's a self-help book without being a self-help book, because self-help books, which I loathe, which are loathsome, they lie to us. They tell us that change is easy, that you don't have to suffer, and all sorts of other fairy tales. And his book goes right into the nitty gritty. And the other thing I like about Viktor Frankl is that he practices what he preaches. I mean, he was in the concentration camps, and he had many opportunities to get out of the concentration camps and get into what were presumably were more desirable ones, and he didn't do it. He said, "My duty is to the people I'm helping," because he was doing a lot of help. He was helping people psychologically and physically. He was putting bandages on people and stuff, and he always put duty before self interest and self convenience. He was a real hero, and greatest book I've ever read. And there's some lines in there that are haunting. I mean, he says, "Woe to people who have no meaning or purpose in their lives, because they're doomed." And he gives many examples. So I'm rereading it. I'm taking notes. I'm gonna lecture on it starting in the summer again. I took a semester off of it, and I'm reading it again. I must have read it 10 times. Every time I read it, it's like a whole new experience. And it's just, I feel better about putting my energies on this book than about getting too lost in watches. I don't think I want to hear David Gates and bread in my head, or I don't think I want to be at a party making watch lists anytime soon. I think I'll just step back, laugh at myself, and try not to repeat the mistake, and try not to get back on the hamster wheel. Feels good not to be on the hamster wheel. Doesn't mean I won't go back on. It's pretty easy in this age of the internet to feed the wolf and get back in. But, I'm getting old, man. I'm running out of time. I don't have time for a lot of nonsense. So just wanted to check back in. And until next time, I am out.